no, I'm not going to continue down that route of somebody that I was not meant to be because the market is driving me to become that. And it made me wonder how many people out there are living a life that was not built for them and was not intended for them because it's driving them to have success on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. Hey guys, it's Andrea here. Today I'd like to share with you guys my thoughts about a potentially dangerous trap that content creators might find themselves in if they are not careful. So I've noticed that in the modern era, this year being 2025, in case anybody finds this video later, living the life of a content creator, a TikToker, an Instagram influencer, a YouTuber like myself, etc., is sold to us with the idea that being a content creator gives you freedom that you can't find at a typical 9-to-5 job. I know for myself, that was one of the reasons why I started a YouTube channel, because I really liked the idea of having freedom to be able to create a life I want to make and make money in the process. I've never done well working a typical 9-to-5 job, so I felt like becoming a YouTuber was an escape from that life. However, as I'm becoming more experienced on my YouTube channel and understanding how the YouTube platform works, I started to realize slowly over time that there's a paradox here. While at first it could seem like a ticket to a free life, that if you're not cautious, it could actually become another form of working slavery. The reason I say this is because the way the algorithm works is that it doesn't necessarily matter how brilliant your content is. Really, what pushes people's work out into the algorithm is what is going to keep eyes on it the longest. What is going to get the most viewing time, the most watch hours per video. And the trap that a lot of YouTubers and content creators across multiple platforms can find themselves in is that they will start to change their natural born talents, personalities, and interests so they have the potential to make money or fame. Now, I'm going to give you guys a personal concrete example of what I experienced on my channel in regards to this so that the point I'm trying to make here makes a little more sense. When I first started my channel in 2020, I started this channel with the intention of being a podcaster. I was very heavily influenced by Joe Rogan. What I liked about Joe Rogan's channel was that he had so many different guests on of so many different topics and so many different fields. And I liked that he wasn't pigeonholed into one specific topic, that he was able to kind of have this free life and just to be himself on his channel and to experience a life of financial abundance and freedom just for being himself. Fast forward to the most recent election in 2024 between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. This was a very heated time in the United States and all over the world, period. And I started talking about these topics on my podcast, not necessarily because I'm a hyper political person, but simply because that's what was current. And it was actually an interest of mine at the time, being that there was a current election. I didn't have any intentions whatsoever of continuing my channel to be a political channel. I was just simply interested, curious, and tapped into politics at that time because it was at the forefront of the zeitgeist of our culture. What I noticed around that time is I started to build a following and I started getting subscribers quicker than I ever had across my entire 4 years at that time of doing YouTube. And side note about that, reflecting on the experience of why I seemed to be relatively successful, or I had the seeds of becoming successful during the election. When I think about that, I think there's several factors that go into play. One, I'm not liberal or conservative. I'm in the middle. And I think for a female living in a city like Philadelphia, having a full sleeve of tattoos, I think you would expect me to be liberal or Democratic. And I think it was kind of a bit of a surprise to people who saw a female with tattoos who was very liberal in appearance, claiming that she was in the center. So I think that attracted a lot of attention in my videos. And in addition to that, I did start to notice a similar phenomena across other YouTube channels that I was watching at the time. For example, there was this one YouTube channel that I was keeping an eye on. I can't remember the exact name of the woman, so forgive me for that. But it was this trans woman who was very progressive, who was flipped over into MAGA at the time And she started a YouTube channel where she was talking about why, even though she was a trans woman, she became MAGA. And for obvious reasons, this just attracted so much attention. So she decided to put all of her effort into building her channel based off of that topic, a trans woman becoming MAGA. So at this point, when I started to notice that I had tapped into a potential seed of success on my channel, I had a decision to make. Do I lean into this and do I become this because it's going to give me success? Or do I take a step back and ask myself, is this really who I want to be? And is this really who I want to become? And after some reflection, I realized, no, that's not who I am. That's not who I want to become. I don't feel like I was put on this earth to talk about politics. No, I'm not going to continue down that route of somebody that I was not meant to be because the market is driving me to become that. And it made me wonder how many people out there are living a life that was not built for them and was not intended for them because it's driving them to have success on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, etc. And, you know, I don't even think this is true just for social media influencers. I think this might be true also for everyday people in their life. Like before the internet and before social media, I feel like this is probably a common theme that our parents, you know, people of the boomer generation or our grandparents had as well, where the things that initially attracted them to their lifestyle choices, whether or not to get married, what career they choose, whether or not they want to have children, was probably chosen by them, not necessarily because it was the right, authentic path for their life, but more so because they were being influenced by their parents, by their friends, what they see around them, what commercials on TV, because there were advertisements at the time, just not as much in your face as today, but the commercials they saw on TV, propaganda media they saw, etc. I just think in our modern era, it's 10 times more in your face because of social media. So I see so many creators and artists now not creating from their actual soul and their spirit. From my perspective, and this is my belief, but I believe that as human beings, we are vessels for something greater to express themselves through us. And I think as a musician and as a YouTube creator, it's my duty and my job to tune out all the extra noise and to tap into what information I'm receiving, whether that's musical information or messages like this that I feel inclined to share. And again, that's not to glorify myself as some master receiver of this information. I think every human being on this earth has the capacity to do this. It's just that we are all being blindsided by all these messages coming our way. I mean, just think of all, right now I see artists and people almost becoming like this homogenized product. I mean, think of all the women that are looking exactly the same. Think of all the women now that are doing OnlyFans as their job. I mean, there's just so many. It's insane. It boggles my mind the amount of women who are on the OnlyFans platform. And granted, I'm sure there's some women out there who feel joy in expressing themselves in that way. But I can only imagine what something like that would do to the psyche of the majority of women. I can't in my heart believe that any more than 2% of the women on that platform are actually satisfied with their career choice on there. And they don't feel some type of burning within their gut every day that they're essentially selling their soul. And in a way, it's not really their fault, because in order to make money and to survive today, you have to do, like I said in the beginning of the video, what keeps people's attention span. And the unfortunate reality is that what keeps people's attention span the longest isn't necessarily what's good for us. It could be extremely sexually provocative. It could be things that scare us, things that tap into our emotions, our anger, our frustrations, politics, like I said earlier in my case. In a strange way, I like to say the algorithm is pushing it, but really what's pushing it is our own human instincts. So the algorithm in a weird way is us. But I think the unfortunate reality is that when left to our own vices as human beings, we may not consciously make the best decisions to consume content that is healthy for us. And I think a lot of these creators are aware of that, and they create content to further feed into these human instincts that we have trouble turning away. And the whole thing is a vicious cycle. So, I'm kind of debating my own point I'm making here. I want to say it's the evil algorithm, but really it's feeding each other. We are kind of the evil algorithm in a way. But anyways, all that to say, I think if you're a content creator or a content consumer, I think there should be a personal responsibility to take a step back and to ask yourself, are you actually creating from a place of authenticity and what you feel is your life calling and your life duty? I love this concept of dharma, which is you were given, and forgive me for misquoting it perfectly, I'm still in the process of learning all this, but from my understanding, dharma is the idea that you were put on this earth with a divine duty that you personally can do for this world. And like I said, I think unfortunately a lot of people are just sort of being homogenized into these duties that not everybody could fulfill. Not everybody could be a politician. Not everybody could or should be a porn star, So I know for me personally, I'm going to really start rethinking about how I create content on my channel. I'm going to start speaking more from the heart and not fall into the trap of creating content that is going to get clicks, clickbaity type content. And I urge the people listening to this video to think the same for themselves. And if they're not a content creator, if you're instead a content consumer, which I am both a consumer and a creator, so I am responsible for this as well, to start actively taking responsibility to consume content that is good for your spirit. Because in turn, by consuming content that is good for you and good for your spirit, you're going to push the algorithm to send more of that content out to you. And if more people do this, it works like a network, and the algorithm will then in time hopefully start sending healthier content out to people in general. Anyways, those are my thoughts today. I hope this helped anybody who's listening. And that's it. Hope you have a good day, guys. Bye. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to let my listeners know that I offer virtual piano lessons. I have many students of different ages, from child to adult, and of all different levels, from beginning, intermediate to advanced. Many of my virtual piano students have been with me for years, and they find that learning virtually is just as easy as learning in person. If you're interested in booking a trial lesson with me, you can reach out to me on Instagram, Pranzata, Pranzata, and shoot me a DM, or you can reach out to me on email as well, pranzata@gmail.com. pranzata@gmail.com. Also, if you've enjoyed this video today, please don't forget to hit subscribe. It is incredibly difficult to grow a YouTube channel in the modern day. However, I feel determined to do so, and every single subscriber helps more than you could possibly know help me build this channel.